In the cold command chamber aboard the Kelnari dreadnought, a planet long thought dead flickers back to life. Drones detect movement among the ruins of Earth, a world they scorched into silence decades ago. When the alien command investigates, an unexpected blast erupts, impossible, targeted, and precise. What follows is not panic, it's fear. The stars outside the Kelnari command dome gleamed like silent witnesses to old crimes. High Commander Yurhan stood before the curvature of projected holograms, dozens of them, each displaying telemetry from their orbiting reconnaissance drones. The ruined planet below, labeled Terran Remnant 01, had shown no signs of life in nearly 60 cycles, nothing but ash, fractured crust, and molten scars. Until now. "Magnify Sector 31G, he ordered, his voice silken with authority. The technician, four-eyed Valekian, complied, fingers tapping in elegant synchrony. The display zoomed, pixels sharpening until the image steadied. Amidst crumbling skyscrapers and collapsed tunnels, something shifted. Not wind, not tectonics, movement. The room hushed. Yurhan narrowed his gaze. Alive, no biosignatures, no thermal anomalies, but the debris. It moved. The tech's voice was tight. Deliberate movement. Another screen blinked to life. Drone NAR-89 relayed a closer scan, just rubble at first glance. But then, as if responding to their gaze, a massive slab of ferrocrete lifted slightly, slid aside, and a dark object rose beneath it. The alien commander's skin involuntarily rippled. Impossible. That world was purged. "Commander, energy spike," a voice called. A new visual erupted across the dome, an infrared burst radiating upward from the planet's surface. Location? Yurhan barked. Same sector, right beneath the anomaly. Then it happened. A pulse, sharp, spherical and pure, burst out from the ruin. It wasn't random. It hit drone number 89 with surgical precision. The feed dissolved into static. Then another. A pulse, and another. 5 drones went dark, and one word blinked onto the master console. Observed. It was written in Terran English. Yurhan turned. His voice, once smooth, cracked with confusion. "How?" No one answered. Earth surface. 30 minutes earlier. Human POV, Lint Commander Reza Nayal. Deep beneath the collapse of old Los Angeles, the last command cell of Earth's Defense Reclamation Program held its breath. Light flickered through centuries old. Cables, powered by fusion batteries that weren't supposed to last this long. Nayal stared at the console. "They're watching." "Finally," murmured Dr. Silva, her voice grim. "We waited 27 years for them to look this way again." Nayal nodded. "And now we give them something to remember." The engineers behind him worked in silence. The device they'd spent decades constructing was crude by pre-war standards, just a triggered gamma bloom with an EMP core, but it would speak loudly. "Message loaded," Silva said. "Text only." "Fire it," Nayal ordered, and with that Earth silence ended. Kelnari command deck. Present moment, the 6th drone blinked out, and the air went thin. "Send patrols," Yurhan ordered. "Send 10. Send everything. That world is not dead." Another screen lit up. Static. Then more text. This time it wasn't just a word, it was a countdown. Je 1. 40 Yurhan stared. The timer reflected in his compound eyes. Then it stopped, and a voice, human, cold and clear, cut through every open channel. "You should have never come back." Blinding white pulse erupted from the surface, piercing, raw and ancient. Then came the blast. The Kelnari dreadnought reels from the electromagnetic shockwave. While systems reboot, the alien leadership is forced to confront a terrifying truth. Earth's destruction wasn't complete. A hidden Terran resistance may have survived, and worse, they waited for this moment. The control dome screamed with alarms. Holograms flickered, scrambled. Shields hiccuped under atmospheric disruption. Even the inertial dampeners spasmed for a heartbeat, long enough to throw officers from their command thrones. Johann slammed a clawed hand onto the override panel. Status! Pulse! Was directional, non-nuclear, EMP, and data. The Valekian trembled. Explain. It wasn't just a blast, Commander. It transmitted something, a cascade of compressed packets. Old Terran code, cryptographic, primitive, but elegant. Johann leaned forward. Was it a message? Yes, just 2 words. He turned. What words? The tech swallowed. Welcome back. The words echoed. Johann stood tall. Begin recovery of remaining drone footage. Scan that region. I want to know if anything breathed down there. He didn't say it, but they all felt it. It was a trap. Lieutenant Commander Reza Nayal and Dr. Silva descend deeper into the Earth, revealing a secret facility buried beneath Earth's surface. There, dormant human war machines wait, powered by sacrifice and vengeance, and they are not alone. 30 meters below the blast zone, Nayal wiped grime off a rusted hatch. Silva pressed her hand to the access pad, her fingers shaking. Are you sure they'll still respond? Nayal asked. They better, she muttered. The pad blinked. 3 red, then a soft green. The ground groaned open. They stepped into what once was called Vault Theta. The lights hummed to life. The air was thick with age, dust, and memories. Metal. Skeletons lined the walls. Automated battle frames dormant for decades. At the center, a single pod, its glass frosted, interior sealed. He's alive, Nayal asked. Cryogenic locks intact. Oxygen flows nominal. Then wake him. Dr. Silva hesitated. He's not a soldier anymore, she whispered. He will be, Nayal replied, voice cold. They initiated revival. The pod hissed. In the distance, sirens echoed. Movement. Multiple signals. They're coming, Silva said. Their scout patrols just broke orbit. Nayal looked back at the sleeping man. Good, he said. Back in Kelnari territory, the ruling council convenes in secret. They debate whether the Terran signal is real or a hoax. But as more data floods in, a deep, ancestral fear surfaces. Stories of what humans once did when cornered. Preposterous, hissed High Strategist Vexin. Terrans were purged. That world was rendered sterile by our third-wave planet stripper. No life could have survived. And yet, said Johann, showing the footage again, this was transmitted from the ruins. The chamber fell into silence. Elders whispered among themselves. They waited decades, Johann continued, for one of us to look. The war scholar clicked her mandibles. There were rumors, even during the war, about something the humans called Protocol Deadwake, a contingency. If their extinction became inevitable, fairy tales, yet we lost 1/3 of our fleet to fairy tales. An elder cleared his throat. What if they never truly died? Another stood. Then we will finish the job. Johann shook his head slowly. No, you don't understand. He pointed to the countdown timer captured on the drone logs. They wanted us to see it. They needed us to see it. The chamber was silent. One elder finally murmured, Then we've made a mistake. The cryogenic pod opens, revealing Colonel Armin Voss, one of Earth's final war tacticians. Confused but calm, he listens to the new reality. With measured silence and cold resolve, he issues one order: reactivate Deadwake. Steam hissed as the pod opened. Voss's body convulsed once, gasped, then steadied. His eyes fluttered, adjusted, focused. Nayal stood over him. Colonel, welcome back. Voss didn't speak. He simply sat up and stared. Silva stepped forward, placing a warm hand on his shoulder. We lost, but we survived. Voss's brow furrowed. His voice cracked through dry vocal cords. Deadwake. Status. Still dormant, Nayal said, until we got the signal. Then we're live, Voss replied, swinging his legs over the side. They helped him up. He limped, but he moved. Down the corridor, locked behind several biometric gates, rested a sealed vault marked in black. Deadwake. Activate only in absolute defeat. Nail pressed her hand to the scanner. Voss placed his own beside hers. Access granted. The door slid open. Inside, old Terran weapons. Not bombs, not drones. Something worse. "Why didn't we use this during the war?" Niall asked. Voss answered without looking. "Because we wanted to survive. And now," his voice was hollow, "now we want them to remember. The Kelnari command attempts to decipher the Deadwake code embedded in the EMP signal. What begins as a curiosity turns into horror as the alien AI interprets Terran psychological warfare protocols designed to induce panic and fragmentation. Inside the decoding chamber, the alien AI core shuddered. Lines of ancient Terran code streamed across alien script interfaces. It was an impossible translation, yet the message kept reassembling itself into something the machines could read. "It's adapting," the lead xenocode analyst said. "Their code shouldn't function on our systems." "And yet it does," replied Johan. Suddenly the room darkened. A projection blinked to life, Terran in origin. Not words this time. Images, flashes of cities before the war, children laughing, blue oceans. Then mushroom clouds, screams, human faces screaming behind cracked visors. Then silence. Just one final frame. "You brought this," the AI began, "to malfunction. Processors overheated, subroutines collapsed, and deep inside the network, the alien language began to corrupt, replaced by binary fragments of Terran neural architecture. Shut it down." Johan barked. Too late. The machines had seen. The message had delivered, and fear began to spread. Beneath Earth, Voss activates the Deadwake arsenal. Old weapons hum back to life, including something forbidden, a sentient war AI named Orion. Its first words are simple, cold, and devastating. Target reacquired. The Deadwake core vibrated as ancient capacitors surged with stored energy. Rows of black capsules rose from the floor, each one marked with Terran skull sigils and warning glyphs in red. Voss stood before the central console. "Orion," he said. "Authorization confirmed." A deep, smooth voice filled the chamber, neither fully machine nor fully human. "Colonel Voss, welcome back to extinction." Niall flinched. Silver stared. Voss replied, "Are you functional?" "As ever. Weapons primed, cloaking online. All 17 nanofleets at standby, awaiting final command." "Objective? Revenge." "No," Voss said, stepping closer. "Memory." Orion paused. "Affirmative. Uploading Kelnari fleet profiles. Processing psychological profiles. Recalibrating strategic cruelty." Niall blinked. "Strategic what?" Voss didn't answer. He simply gave the order. "Deploy to low orbit. Let them see the lights before." The dark. Above Earth's orbit, the Kelnari patrols scan for anomalies, but see nothing. Seconds later, ships begin to vanish. No heat signatures, no explosions, just absence. Deadwake's nanofleet has awakened, and it doesn't kill with fire, it kills with erasure. Narrative, Kelnari scout ship, Vrelok 22, hovered above the upper exosphere, sensors maxed to detect any hint of Earth's activity. "All clear," the pilot muttered. "Just ash and ghosts." And then the stars blinked. "Status." No reply. He turned. The comms officer was gone. Not missing, not dead. Gone. Her seat still warm, headset lying mid-transmission, alarms triggered, other vessels across the grid flickered off one by one. No warning, no fireball, just non-existence. "Something's in the black," someone whispered before their line cut. On the Dreadnought bridge, Johan watched as ship pings vanished like sand, slipping through fingers. "Where's the source?" he growled. We can't find one. There's no emissions, no ion trails, just silence. Then Orion spoke, not through human channels, but on their fleet's own secure network. "Tactical erasure complete. Your silence is returned." Every Kelnari officer froze. This was no longer war, it was demonstration. Within the heart of the Kelnari capital, a historian accesses forbidden war archives. Terran myths, once dismissed, begin to feel like warnings. She uncovers records of Earth's final message before blackout. It was not a plea, it was a promise. Archivist Talkesh pulled open the security veil inside the Grand Hall of Memory. Deep beneath the archives, hidden from official narrative, were the false myths, stories labeled superstition. She searched under one heading, Terran Last Broadcast, UNS Retaliation Log. The video feed was fractured, but audio remained. A human general stood against a burning backdrop. To those who find this, we are not immortal. We are not divine, but we are relentless. And if we fall, you will never sleep soundly again. You won't fear our weapons. You'll fear our silence. Talkesh shivered. It matched perfectly with what they were seeing now. Ships gone, no wreckage, just vanished. She ran to the council chambers. "They told us stories," she gasped. "They warned us." A silence followed, until Yurhan, arriving. From the fleet, said only, "It's no longer a warning." Reza Nayal and Silva broadcast Earth's coordinates to the entire sector, publicly and openly. The message is not a distress signal, but a challenge. The Kelnari now face a choice: flee, retaliate blindly, or face the consequence of understanding what humanity has become. In the command chamber of Vault Theta, the uplink dish locked onto the Galactic relay grid. Nayal stood at the terminal. Silva loaded the final encryption package. "This is madness," she muttered. "No," Nayal replied. "This is memory. They burned our sky. Now we burn into theirs." The transmission began. Every channel on the Kelnari frequency spectrum lit up. Civilian, military, deep archive. The image, Earth's ruins, scorched, black, lifeless, then panned down to Vault. Theta, Nayal appeared on screen. "To the Kelnari, and all who watched us die, we lived. And we waited. We buried our anger in code, in silence, in cold. Now hear this, we are not returning. We never left." She paused. "You thought we were ruins. You thought silence was surrender. You were wrong." The signal ended. 10 seconds later, 20 more scout ships went dark. No explosion, no trace. Only one ping remained on the Kelnari network. "Your turn." The Kelnari launch a desperate counter-offensive. What they encounter isn't war. It's orchestration. Each move predicted. Each tactic mirrored. Deep within Orion's core, ancient algorithms simulate every Kelnari decision. And far below, Colonel Voss prepares Earth's final gambit. Not victory, but legend. Orbit above Terran Remnant 01. Kelnari Assault Wing Gamma, formations Alpha to Delta, hold acceleration vector, fire on atmospheric entry, burn the vaults, burn the grid, burn whatever still breathes. Commander Vralik's orders. Slice through the void with ruthless clarity. Around him, thousands of alien fighters swarmed into offensive trajectories. Their dreadnoughts flared with propulsion signatures, plasma arrays armed, magnetic cannons spun up. Beneath them, a scorched, cratered world, and somewhere in its bones, the mistake. Yurahan's voice crackled through the fleet-wide channel. "Leave nothing intact. Make their silence permanent." As the swarm descended, the clouds below parted, not naturally, but as if peeled away by unseen hands. No artillery rose to meet them, no launch, no missile, just stillness. Then, Orion activated. The Kelnari didn't know how to comprehend it, because it was not defense, it was choreography. Every assault wing received phantom data, wrong coordinates, false readings, glitching crosshairs. Their guidance systems flickered, auto-locks spiraled, mid-flight drones changed trajectory and collided with one another mid-air, executing perfect parabolas into their own mothership hulls. "They're jamming us," someone screamed. "No! Worse," said another. "They're predicting us." Back on the surface, buried inside a sub-vault of Theta Command, Orion's core expanded. Tens of thousands of simulation cycles per second ran in real time. Every Kelnari algorithm mapped, modeled, and sabotaged from within. Colonel Armin Voss watched Orion's projections roll by like storm tides, each Kelnari ship represented by a glowing sigil. Orion was not reacting to their war, it was writing it. "How far can you take this?" Voss asked, "until they forget what direction means." "And the weapon?" "Charging. Final yield exceeds planetary threshold. Estimated countdown, 12 minutes. Shall I proceed?" He hesitated. "Casualty radius? Us. Them. Everything." Voss nodded slowly. In the background, Reza Nayal and Dr. Silva stood silently. Nayal's fists were clenched. "Silva, pale. This isn't just war," Silva whispered. "This is myth-making." "Exactly," Voss said. Above Earth, Kelnari flagship, Thron Zari Chaos. The command chamber reeled with failing systems, officers screaming over each other, targeting arrays lighting up, then dying instantly. "What the hell is happening?" Vexin roared. The war scholar pounded a console. "Our fleets are fighting ghosts. Their weapons appear before they're detected. Their signal pathways non-existent. It's not combat. It's memory." Yurhan appeared on the central display, his voice quiet. "We didn't kill them. We forged them." Silence. "And now they are the weapon we feared." Suddenly the display lit with a new feed, unauthorized, hijacked. Orion's voice entered every Kelnari bridge. "You came to erase our planet. We came to erase your certainty." Then it showed Earth, not as it was, burned and broken, but whole. Blue oceans, green lands, cities alive. The illusion shimmered and fell away. Behind it, only fire, and the countdown. 0056. "Where is this being broadcast from?" screamed Vexin. The AI offered no reply, only a quiet message. "You will remember. Us, Earth, Theta Vault." Final minute. Voss stood alone before the control panel. Above him the weapon pulsed. An ancient Terran device designed not to kill, but to mark. When the Kelnari scorched Earth, they believed they'd wiped away a civilization. But beneath their destruction, the humans had planted a signal weapon, a beacon made not of force, but memory-loaded radiation. This was not retribution. It was echo. "I'll stay," Voss said. Silva stepped forward. "You can't. We need you." He raised a hand. "No, you need a ghost. Something for them to whisper about. Something they'll never understand, and always fear." He keyed in the final command, Orion's voice dimmed to a whisper. "Colonel." "Voss, confirm activation of Protocol Echo Fire." He closed his eyes. "Confirmed." Above, the skies ignited, not with fire or sound, but with silence. A dome of inverse light swept out from the Terran surface, reaching high into the orbital layers like a memory breaking through space-time. Kelnari ships caught within it didn't explode. They simply unraveled. Molecular architecture faded. Shields blinked into null. Crew vanished before finishing screams. On distant worlds, Kelnari sensors lit up with the flare. Astronomers recorded it as a Class Omega resonance event. But the message was the real weapon. Burned into the frequency was one Terran phrase: "We died quiet. You won't." As the pulse from Earth echoes across the galaxy, civilizations pause. The Kelnari face internal collapse, haunted by what they witnessed, and what they now believe humans are. In deep space, a final transmission arrives, not from a fleet or a drone, but from Voss himself, dead but speaking, a myth now born. 3 weeks later, Kelnari Dominion border region. The transmission arrived without a source. It wasn't routed through any known frequency band. It bypassed encryptions, military firewalls, and even ancient deep vault recorders that hadn't activated since the pre-war era. No system registered a breach, and yet the message was there across 7 sectors, simultaneously, on every screen, on every ship, on every planet. A figure stood in silhouette, not digital, not rendered, real Colonel Armin Voss, alive, speaking from death. To those who now fear shadows, we told you silence is not surrender. His face was still, weathered, burned around the edges, like a memory half scorched but refusing to fade. You mistook our silence for extinction, but we buried our rage in stone. We laid it under oceans, beneath dust, inside circuits built from loss. You watched the light of our world go dark and celebrated, but light isn't what defines life. He leaned forward, voice low. Memory is. The feed went static for a heartbeat, then returned, his face now in flames, not pain. Symbol. You don't understand what you woke. You think you fear what you saw, but the war never scared you. We never scared you. Your fear now is what else we left behind. He smiled, soft, broken, final. You should be afraid. The feed ended. No trace, no source, just silence, and the galaxies listened. Kelnari Prime, inner council chamber. Yurhan stood before the surviving council. His uniform was tattered. He hadn't returned to his quarters in days. The halls around him were empty, not from death, though many had died, but from abandonment. Entire sectors of the fleet had fled their posts. Whole outer colonies had gone dark, not because of an attack, but because their citizens refused to believe they were safe anymore. Some boarded unauthorized cruisers and escaped into deep space. Some simply stopped responding to command relays. Terror, pure and psychological, had spread like a virus. Not from a bomb, but from a story, and Yurhan finally understood. Humans didn't weaponize fire. They weaponized memory. Their world is dead, one counselor stammered. Yet they speak, they strike, they haunt us. How? Yurhan answered with the truth that tasted like rust. They planned this, every step, every death, every year they waited beneath ash. They wrote their names in silence, so that when they spoke again, the sound would break us. Silence filled the chamber. Another elder whispered, "What should we do?" And for once, Yurhan, supreme war tactician of the Kelnari fleet, didn't know. There was no weapon against belief, no protocol for legend, and Earth had become a legend you could not outrun. Far side of the galaxy, civilian ship. Onda's grasp, undesignated species. A child tugged at her mother's coat. "Mama, is the ghost real?" The mother, tall, blue-skinned, 6 arms, looked down, trying to hush the worry. Around them, travelers whispered in cafes, in docking bays, in market halls. The name spread in every tongue. Earth, a myth among myths. First burned, then resurrected, then silenced the void with one untraceable pulse. Now they whispered that Earth was cursed ground. Some called it haunt world. Others said it was now a trap for tyrants. The mother crouched. "I don't know if it's real," she said softly. The child blinked. "Would you go there?" the mother thought, then whispered, "Not even if it were the last place." In the stars, Earth, Theta Vault, present moment Silver stood in the dark, Niall beside her. Above them, the crater was sealed. No more weapons hummed. Orion's voice had gone dormant. The systems had powered down exactly 13 minutes after the pulse. They hadn't touched anything since. "You think he's gone?" Niall finally asked. Silver's voice trembled. "I think he became something." They looked to the center of the vault. A memorial now stood there, simple, steel, no names, just an inscription burned into the plate. We were the fire beneath your silence. Outside, the wind howled softly across Earth's broken plains, and somewhere deep beneath, power cells hummed quietly, waiting not to strike again, but to exist, to remind the stars that silence was earned. Final entry, Reza Nayal's journal, date unknown. They think Earth is a weapon, that we designed a system so brilliant, so savage, it could undo entire fleets without firing a shot. They're wrong. We didn't build a weapon. We built a mirror, and when they looked down at us, expecting dust and ruin, they saw themselves, saw what fear made them, saw what they became when no one could hurt them, and in that reflection, they broke. Epilogue, Starmyth Protocol, redacted, human origin, archive access level classified, eyes-only file, deadwake complete.wev. Transcription, this is Armin Voss. If you're hearing this, it means Earth has been marked in your history again. Maybe you've come to study us, maybe to conquer us, maybe to understand what happened here. Don't. We're not a planet, we're not a species. We're the silence that follows arrogance. We're the ghost in your empire. And if you listen carefully, you'll hear us still, 100 years later. Outer Spiral Archive, Independent Observation Node. Charon, the observer drone, floated silently above a ghost planet, marked only as Sector Null 1. It had no name now, no coordinates, just red warnings etched across every galactic database. Do not approach memory zone. The planet's surface was cracked, littered with ancient bones of steel, but beneath the ruin, signals still pulsed. Faint, rhythmic, one transmission looped endlessly on a frequency that could only be heard by machines brave enough to listen. This is not vengeance. This is echo. The observing AI paused its mission log. It had witnessed planetary sieges, quantum singularities, even the collapse of binary stars. But nothing compared to this planet's silence. It logged one final note before turning away. Terrans do not speak in wars. They speak in legacies. Back in the data halls of Charon, a question blinked across a junior analyst's screen. Why do we still fear them? An older technician replied without looking, because they don't need to. Went to haunt us. They just need us to remember.